Step back, ma'am. You don't live here. The words cracked through the quiet street like a whip. A wealthy black woman standing in front of the gates to her own mansion was mocked, threatened, and humiliated by the very people hired to protect the property. 3 uniformed guards flanked a sneering woman in white, her voice sharp, her finger stabbing the air like a weapon. To them, she wasn't a homeowner. She wasn't a self-made CEO who had fought her way into success. She was just black. And worse, she was a black woman daring to stand where they thought she didn't belong. Neighbors peeked through blinds. Phones came out. The guards laughed, unclipping their cuffs, ready to parade her as an imposter, a trespasser, a spectacle to humiliate. But what they didn't know, what they refused to see, was that the calm, unshaken woman in front of them wasn't just another resident. She wasn't a guest, and she wasn't lost. She was the owner of the entire estate. And in minutes, their arrogance, their uniforms, and their jobs would be ripped away, right in front of the world. Before we dive deeper, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you don't miss more powerful stories like this one. And don't forget to share, because silence only protects the corrupt. Now, let's begin. The sun was just starting to dip, casting long golden shadows across the manicured lawns of Ashton Heights, the wealthiest gated community in the state. At the massive wrought iron gate of one of its grandest mansions, Alyssa Morgan, a black woman in her late 30s, stepped out of her luxury SUV. Dressed sharply in a tailored blazer, silk blouse, and designer heels, she looked every bit the powerhouse CEO she was. Yet none of that mattered to the people blocking her path. 3 uniformed guards stood stiffly at the entrance, their arms crossed, faces twisted with suspicion. At the center was Karen Whitfield, a neighbor known for her sharp tongue and sharper prejudices. She smirked, pointing at Alyssa as though accusing a thief. "You don't belong here," Karen snapped, her voice carrying across the street. "Step back before I have you arrested." "This is private property." Alyssa's jaw tightened, her calm unshaken. "This is my property." The guards exchanged looks, snickering. One unclipped his handcuffs with a snap, twirling them in his fingers. "Lady, I don't care what story you're spinning. Black women don't own mansions in Ashton Heights. So either you leave quietly, or we'll remove you." Gasps rippled from neighbors peeking through blinds. A teenager across the street raised his phone, recording as Karen's smirk grew wider. "Caught in the act," she muttered, as though Alyssa were a criminal instead of the rightful owner. Alyssa stayed rooted, her eyes burning with silent fury. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't plead. Instead, she pulled something from her purse, a small leather case. She held it in her hand, her fingers resting on the clasp, but didn't open it just yet. Karen folded her arms, laughing coldly. "Oh, this I gotta see. What lie are you about to spin now?" The guards moved in closer, cuffs ready, their boots heavy on the pavement. The neighbors leaned in from their windows, eager to witness the spectacle. But what Alyssa was about to reveal would wipe every smirk off their faces, and end more than just the argument. The street was silent, except for the clicking cuffs in the guard's hand. Alyssa Morgan stood tall, her blazer catching the last glow of sunlight, leather case in her hand. With deliberate calm, she opened it and revealed her identification. Inside was her state-issued ID and property ownership documents, with her name printed in bold. "This is my home," she said firmly. "My name is on every paper." Now step aside. For a second, the guards hesitated. One leaned forward, scanning the ID, his brow furrowing. But before he could say a word, Karen Whitfield snatched it from his hand with a scoff. She waved it in the air, as though it were worthless. "Fake," Karen spat, her voice shrill with arrogance. "You think you can print out some documents online and pretend to live here? Please. You're not fooling anyone. A black woman in Ashton Heights? Not in this lifetime." The guards chuckled, their laughter carrying across the street. One shook his head. "Yeah, nice try, lady. I've seen scams before, and you're just another one." A murmur spread among the watching neighbors. Some whispered in disbelief, but others nodded along, their faces smug, their phones still recording. The racism in the air was thick, almost suffocating. Alyssa's chest rose slowly as she drew in a deep breath, her voice steady but cutting. "You're humiliating me in front of my own home. And you think your badges and her mouth give you the right to do it?" Karen sneered, tossing the documents back toward Alyssa's feet. "What gives us the right?" Reality. Black women don't live behind gates like these. You don't look like an owner. You look like hired help who got bold. Gasps rippled. Even some of the onlookers seemed stunned by the venom in Karen's words. A boy recording whispered into his phone, "She really just said that." But Karen wasn't done. She jabbed a finger toward Alyssa's face, her voice rising. "You don't belong here. And I'll make sure you never step through these gates again." The guards stepped forward, cuffs ready, closing in on Alyssa as if she were a trespasser. But Alyssa Morgan wasn't about to back down, because the next move she made would flip the entire neighborhood on its head. The cuffs gleamed in the fading light as the guards closed in. One reached for Alyssa's wrist, his smirk full of contempt, as though cuffing her was entertainment. Karen Whitfield stood just behind them, arms folded, her voice dripping venom. "Go ahead," she urged them. "Get her out of here." She doesn't belong. She's nothing but a liar trying to act rich. Just another black woman who doesn't know her place. The words stung the air, cruel and deliberate. Neighbors gasped, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others whispering agreement. Phones captured every second, the live stream chat filling with outrage. But Alyssa didn't flinch. She stood still, her eyes steady, her voice even. "If you touch me again, you'll regret it." The lead guard laughed, snapping the cuffs open wider. Big words for someone who's about to spend the night in a holding cell. Alyssa reached calmly into her blazer pocket, ignoring their taunts. She pulled out her phone, scrolled with her thumb, and pressed a single contact. The line rang once before a clear, professional voice answered. "Yes, Ms. Morgan?" Karen burst out laughing, her face red from mockery. "Oh, who are you calling now? A friend to bail you out? A fake lawyer?" Alyssa's lips curved into the faintest smile. "No," she said softly, her words slicing through the tension. "I'm calling my security director." The guards froze for a split second, confusion flickering across their faces. Karen scoffed, waving dismissively. "Security director? Please, the only thing you're about to direct is yourself to jail." On the other end of the line, the voice asked, "Are they giving you trouble at the gate again?" "Yes," Alyssa replied, her tone calm but laced with steel. "It's time to replace the entire team. Effective immediately." The guard holding the cuffs stiffened, his smirk faltering. Karen blinked, her smile breaking for the first time. "Replace the team? What? What are you talking about?" Alyssa ended the call, and slid the phone back into her blazer. Her eyes swept across the stunned faces. "You'll understand in a moment," she said, her voice low and commanding. And just as the guards exchanged uneasy glances, the deep roar of luxury engines echoed down the street. A convoy of black SUVs was turning into the neighborhood, headlights blazing. The growl of engines grew louder until the entire street vibrated. Neighbors pulled curtains wider, eyes widening at the sight of 3 black SUVs rolling up the tree-lined road, headlights blazing like searchlights. The vehicles slowed, tires crunching against the cobblestone driveway, before stopping in front of the mansion gates. The guards stiffened. One unconsciously lowered the cuffs, while the others shifted uneasily, glancing at Karen for direction. Karen's smirk returned, but it wavered. "What is this? Some kind of show? You think rolling in flashy cars is going to prove anything?" The SUV's doors opened in unison. Out stepped men and women in sharp black suits and earpieces, each moving with crisp precision. They weren't neighborhood watch. They weren't hired bouncers. Their movements screamed professional security, disciplined, dangerous, and loyal. The lead agent, tall with a commanding presence, strode directly to Alyssa. "Ms. Morgan," he said, his voice steady, respectful. "Apologies for the delay. We came as soon as your call came through." The guard's jaws dropped. Karen let out a shaky laugh, waving dismissively. "Don't be ridiculous. She doesn't live here. This is all an act." The lead agent didn't even look at her. His eyes swept the 3 guards with contempt. "Per Ms. Morgan's orders, your services are no longer required. You're relieved of duty, effective immediately." The guards froze, their faces draining of color. What are you talking about?" one stammered. Alyssa stepped forward, calm and unshaken, her voice slicing through the air. "You heard him. You no longer work for me. You work for me," she repeated firmly, emphasizing each word. "Because this is my house, my land, and my authority. And you just threw it all away." Gasps erupted from the neighbors watching. Phones zoomed in closer, capturing every second. Karen sputtered, her face twisted with disbelief. "Lies! This can't be true. Black women don't own estates like this. She's bluffing." But before she could finish, the gates creaked and began to swing open. The emblem engraved in the iron glimmered under the last trace of sunlight. And there, clear as day, was Alyssa Morgan's name etched into the steel. The gates stood wide now, Alyssa Morgan's name etched into the iron, glowing faintly under the streetlights. Neighbors gasped, some covering their mouths, others whispering in shock. Phones zoomed in, live streams pouring the moment onto screens far beyond Ashton Heights. But Karen Whitfield wasn't done. Her face flushed, her voice cracked with panic as she shoved herself in front of Alyssa, pointing like a prosecutor. "This doesn't prove anything," she screeched. "Anyone can have a name put on a gate." "You forged the papers. You scammed your way into this neighborhood. Everyone knows you people don't earn money honestly." The words slammed into the air, dripping venom. Gasps rippled again, this time sharper, disgusted. Even some of the neighbors recording lowered their phones for a second, ashamed of the blatant racism. Alyssa didn't flinch. Her calm presence only made Karen look smaller, uglier. She turned slightly toward her lead agent, who handed her a slim leather folder. Alyssa opened it with deliberate slowness and pulled out a thick stack of official ownership deeds, bank records, and tax documents. She held them up for all to see. "This estate," Alyssa said, her voice ringing across the stunned street. "Was purchased legally, paid in full. Every document bears my name. Every brick on this land belongs to me. And every paycheck you guards collected for years came from my account." The guards shifted nervously, their faces pale under the harsh SUV headlights. One swallowed hard, lowering his eyes to the ground. Karen, trembling now, still tried to fight. No, this can't be true. She's lying. But her words were drowned out by the murmur of neighbors. A woman near the front muttered, "She really owns it." Another man whispered into his phone, "Karen just dug her own grave on camera." Alyssa's eyes locked on Karen, her tone steady but sharp enough to cut glass. "The only liar here is you, and the only fraud is your hate." The guards backed away slowly, their authority crumbling. Karen's chest rose and fell in panicked bursts, her confidence slipping through her fingers. And just when she thought it couldn't get worse, the distant wail of sirens echoed down the street, growing louder with every passing second. The red and blue glow painted the pristine white walls of Ashton Heights. Neighbors pressed against windows as two police cruisers pulled up, their sirens fading into sharp silence. Doors swung open, and uniformed officers stepped out, hands on their belts, eyes sweeping the tense scene. Karen's smirk snapped back instantly, her voice rising with false confidence. She stormed forward, pointing at Alyssa as though presenting evidence. "Officers! Thank God you're here. Arrest this woman immediately. She's trespassing on private property, trying to break into a home that doesn't belong to her." The guards, relieved, nodded eagerly, falling back in line with Karen. "She claims to own this estate," one added quickly, "but we all know that's impossible. Just another black woman trying to play rich." The venom in the word hung in the air, heavier now under flashing lights. Phones caught it all, streams buzzing with outrage. Alyssa didn't move. She didn't raise her voice. She simply turned, calm as ever, and faced the officers. The lead cop paused, his eyes narrowing, then widening in recognition. His stiff posture softened as he straightened his hat. "Ms. Morgan," he said, his tone shifting instantly to respect. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Karen froze. What did you just call her?" The officer ignored Karen completely, stepping forward toward Alyssa. "Ma'am, we apologize for the disturbance. We've had the honor of working detail for your events in the city. I didn't realize you lived here now." The guards stiffened, their faces paling as reality settled like stone. Karen's smirk shattered into panic, her voice shrill. "No! No, this is wrong. You can't believe her. Look at her. She's not. But she couldn't even finish the sentence. The officer's sharp gaze cut her words off cold. "Ma'am, I suggest you watch your mouth. You're already being recorded." Phones tilted closer. The crowd buzzed with whispers. Karen stumbled, her hands trembling, her bravado leaking away like air from a balloon. Alyssa's calm smile returned as she turned back to the guards. "It seems your backup didn't arrive for you after all." The officer's radio crackled, dispatch confirming something in the background. His face hardened as he looked at Karen and the guards. "Ms. Morgan," he said firmly, "would you like to press charges?" The street was alive with whispers and flashing phone cameras. The officer's question hung in the air like a blade. "Would you like to press charges?" Karen's eyes went wide. She spun on Alyssa, her voice cracking. "You wouldn't dare! I was protecting the neighborhood. I was doing my duty." Alyssa's heels clicked softly as she stepped forward, her calm presence cutting through the noise. "Your duty," she said coldly, was to respect the residents, to enforce the rules fairly, not to weaponize them against me because I'm a black woman who doesn't fit your picture of wealth. The words landed heavy. Phones shook as people typed furiously into live stream chats. Say it louder. Racism caught on camera. Karen exposed in HD. Karen sputtered, her face red, her pearl necklace trembling. She's lying. You can't listen to her. But Alyssa ignored her. She turned to the three guards, their shoulders hunched now, their eyes glued to the ground. As of this moment, your employment is terminated. You don't work for me. You don't work for this estate. You've disgraced your badges, your uniforms, and yourselves. One guard tried to stammer. But, ma'am, we were just following her. No, Alyssa cut sharply. You followed hate. You followed prejudice. And you followed it straight out of a job. The crowd erupted, some clapping, others cheering. Even the officer's lips twitched, as if he were holding back approval. Karen staggered back, her voice shrill. You can't fire them! You don't have that kind of power! This isn't your… But before she could finish, Alyssa snapped her fingers. The lead agent from the black SUVs handed her a sleek folder. She opened it, pulling out one single sheet of paper, embossed with gold trim. She held it high, letting the SUV headlights illuminate the words. This estate, Alyssa announced, is not only mine. I own the entire block of Ashton Heights properties, every gate, every guard post, every contract. And starting tonight, everything changes. Karen's knees buckled. The guards exchanged horrified looks, realizing there was no escape. And then, as if on cue, Alyssa's new security team stepped forward in perfect formation, ready to replace the old guard on the spot. The SUV's headlights bathed the street in white. Alyssa's new security team lined up in sharp formation, their presence calm but commanding. The three fired guards stood pale and trembling, their authority stripped away in seconds. Phones captured everything, comments flooding live streams faster than viewers could read. Karen Whitfield's voice cracked as she stumbled backward. This isn't possible. A black woman doesn't own Ashton Heights. You're lying. You're all lying. Her words rang desperate now, hollow. Neighbors shook their heads, some muttering in disgust. One woman whispered to her husband, she embarrassed herself more than anyone tonight. The police officer turned toward Alyssa, his tone respectful. Ms. Morgan, would you like us to escort these individuals off your property? Alyssa's gaze swept over Karen and the guards, trembling, pale, broken. Then she looked at the crowd, her eyes locking with cameras and phones held high. Her voice rang strong and steady, slicing through the night. No, she said firmly. They don't need handcuffs. They need accountability. They tried to humiliate me because I'm a black woman who dared to succeed where they think I shouldn't. But tonight, the world is watching, and that is punishment enough. The neighbors erupted in cheers, claps echoing across the manicured lawns. The live stream comments exploded. Powerful. She's a queen. That's how you shut down racism. Alyssa handed the officer the final contract for the security company, her tone calm but sharp. Escort them to the gate. Their service here is finished. Permanently. The guards shuffled away in shame, their uniforms hanging loose like costumes that no longer fit. Karen's pearls clattered as her hands shook, her voice breaking. This isn't over! You can't just… But no one listened. Not the officers, not the neighbors, not even the guards who had once stood behind her. She was finished. Alyssa turned back to her estate, her new security team falling in behind her. She paused at the gate, looking back one last time. "Power built on hate crumbles in the light," she said, her voice carrying through every recording phone. And tonight, hate was exposed. She walked through the gates, which closed silently behind her, her name gleaming in steel as the final image burned into every witness's mind. If this story moved you, like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because silence protects the corrupt, but together, we can expose them. The fight against racism isn't over. But tonight, victory belonged to Alyssa Morgan.